Hello and welcome back. My apologies again if you have to watch this YouTube video because technology has failed me in my time of need. This is part two, so you can go back and watch part one, or if you're just interested in learning about the VLOOKUP stuff and trying the assignments, this is the video for you. So what we'll do is we'll open up the first one. Now, I was planning on leaving a lot of time so that you could ask questions and go through it, but and what I really, really wanted to avoid for this course was one of those tutorials that is very much like where seems like it's more about showing off what I know and, oh, look at how good I am at Excel, look at all the nifty things I can do. So and that's why we had this assignment rather than just me showing you how the stuff works so that you could actually get your hands dirty and try it out. But it is what it is, and no use moping about it. So what I will do here is, since obviously I can't take any questions, I'll just go very slowly and do it step by step, and hopefully this will show you how to do it. You can hopefully follow along as well. So, so what will, in this case scenario here, I've already created a sort of VLOOKUP scenario. So we got a list of students with their test scores in 3 different subjects. And if you want to be able to quickly pull up a student's name and see what they got on each one, you could type the student's name in here, and then putting a VLOOKUP function will allow you to do that. So to see what the score is. So it could be anything. Alan, we'll pull up his score. Kane. But we'll stick with Chris because that's what we have right. Start off with. So let's say you got the VLOOKUP, you know what you want, and you like, okay, this is exactly what I want. Let me just copy it over to these other 2 cells. Oh, we got an NA. The reason you got NA was because you'll see here, the references weren't set up to be absolute references properly. So instead of looking for Chris in this data set, it's looking for a student score in math. So what we'll want to do is before you copy over any VLOOKUP, you will almost you probably want to make sure you have your absolute references in place, at least especially for the table portion. So you can either click here and put a $sign there, or if you want, you can put F4 to make it multiple times, make it an absolute reference there. Now, one thing that we'll have to update manually is the third part, because you'll see when we drag it over to copy paste it, it's 67. It keeps giving us a score in math. That's because this won't update. The column number will not update with when you drag it over or copy it to a new location. So you will have to manually go in and change that. Now, I don't know, but it's a little bit of a pain, but what's worse? Having to type in equals VLOOKUP and do the entire thing from scratch, or just being able to click and change that to the one you want. I suppose if you really, really wanted to be fancy, you could put this up there and set your this reference to a relative one, but you might not have access to an extra row or whatever. So, but now, so that's how the quick and easy way of doing it is. What I'm going to do now is just for practice, I'm going to walk with you step by step. Like this was great if you already know how to use a VLOOKUP and you want to know how to quickly use it more easily and copy paste it. But what we're going to do is like just take a step back, and we're going to type in the code from scratch. So equal sign, as all formulas are, or all functions are. So that one little tick, I say formula, function interchangeably. They're not, but if I say formula, I mean function. So equals VLOOKUP, that's the reason we're here. And the lookup table, okay? So the lookup value, so the value we want is here. Remember to change it to an absolute reference because that's never changing by pressing the F4 button or by manually putting them in. I'll give you guys about 10 seconds to get to this point. Cool. Okay, put a comma, then we need the table array. So you can click and drag here. It won't automatically, there, you can press F4 and it will update it so the table does not change. Press F4. I'm going to give you guys another 10 seconds to get to this part of the formula. Column index number. Now, column index number we want is 3, because that's the physics. It's 1, 2, 3. And then always false, and that should be good to go. Also, just as an FYI, underneath in row 4, I've hidden the correct answers in white font. So if you want to see how if you want to see what I did or what yours should look like at the end of the day, you can look in there and you'll see. There you could just copy paste it in here, but then you wouldn't learn anything. So we're going to do it one more time. This time we're going to do it for chemistry. So equals the lookup. And my apologies if you, also a little tidbit, if you start typing in a formula and it's highlighted here, you can just press tab and it will finish it off for you. But okay, and the value does not change. So comma, the cell reference does not change, it's still there. And then the column number is 4. And there you go. You've just created a thing where you could now look up anybody's name in here and pull up their scores. So maybe it might be useful in your daily life. You look up a vendor and their information, and rather than having to filter by the vendor and be like, okay, I need Canadian Tire, I need a Purolator. You can just be like, type in Canadian Tire here, get all the information you need there. There's also a step-by-step one here. Now for the first one, is just more about how to copy and paste it over. It's not a breakdown of each individual part of the VLOOKUP function, but it is what yeah. So that's some, but yeah. So you can follow along with this, or you can watch the videos afterwards to get a better idea of how to do it. Now, we get into one of the limitations of VLOOKUP, which is that it only does works from left to right. You saw how earlier it goes down on the leftmost column and across. Well, yeah, that's what it does. That's fine, but what if your information you need is on the rightmost column? Then you're kind of out of luck from using a VLOOKUP, because it's like Zoolander, it can only work one way. It can't go to the right. It can't go left and right. If you don't get the Zoolander reference, it's unimportant. Anyhow, so what is important is the workaround I'm going to show you. And this is a theme that will come in handy for a lot of problems we're going to do with VLOOKUP, and also will enable you to use VLOOKUP as a solution to problems where you wouldn't otherwise be able to. And it's creating a helper column. Because a lot of the times the data we need isn't in a form that's useful for VLOOKUP to search, because Remember what we talked about earlier with the key and the like, if your data doesn't have a, like, sometimes the key will be in the wrong place, or the key will be in a different document, or a key will be in a different format. So this is just a way of making it so that the key is to the leftmost of the data that you're trying to look up for. So the easiest way to do it is to create a helper column to the left of everything you need, and then copy the data in there. Now we'll go over to the assignment tab, number 2 tab. And there are 2 ways to copy the data over to the new helper column. The first is quite simply, you just go to this, you just, like we had it here. You can see it's not working because all the data is on the far right. So you just create a helper column on the left of the data set you want. And you can literally just type equals the data you do want. And voila, you've suddenly created a new key with all the data, and you can make a VLOOKUP with this. Alternatively, you can also click on the F column. You can do Control-C or Control-X, up to you, and you can Control-V it over. And there you go. So it doesn't matter which one you're going to do here. Yeah. Also, you could do something where you take the data set and put it in. Yeah. Yeah. And you bring the, like, you could also, in theory, take the data set here and put it over in here. But for today's, the principle is the same. So you already know. So usually you'll want to put the helper column to the left of the data you need, rather than taking the data you need and putting it to the right of the key. So probably made that more confusing, and will not mention that if for the live version of this class, if the internet's working. So anyhow, long story short is you should have your Excel looking like this at this point. If you don't, just quick recap, just go over to assignment 2, click on F, Control X, and then click on B, Control V, and you should be good to go. However, you'll notice that our VLOOKUP through all of this does not work. So what we will want to do is change the range from this. You can either manually type in B here, and then it'll work. You don't need it to go to F. It only goes to E now, but it's not hurting it. Actually, fun little segue here. You actually don't need to put hard and fast ranges in here. You can do it by column. So you could go B to E, and that will search the entire column B, the entire all the way through column E. So that's everything, absolutely everything from here. Like, it doesn't end here. It searches all the way down to here. So that's, like I said, like, I mean, is it more useful? Yeah. And do you have to worry about having to dive into the weeds and like basically update your formula every time you add on, like if you added on a new student like Spencer to the mix, if you do it hard coded, then you would have, like you see here, Spencer wouldn't get picked up when you type it in. He did, because, oh, in this case, he did because I made it like that. But if you do it like a hard code, like I had originally down here, it'll give you an error. So if you, and you'd have to manually go in and change it to that. So just as an FYI, reasons why you'd want to do it without putting a row number in there. You don't have to update it and worry about that. It's one reason. The other, and the reasons why you would want to put a hard and fast cell where it ends is because it takes up less space and less memory, and it's faster for the Excel to process it and makes the files smaller. Now, normally it's an Excel file. It's not a HD like video, or it's not that big in size anyway, even the biggest Excel files. And our computers are pretty good nowadays, so it's not too much of an issue. Usually in my thing, I do like, if you want to get into a compromise type situation, what you could do is you could just throw in a large number, but not here. So you can go like B2 to E555. That way you've got yourself a bunch of free space to add things on without having to worry about reaching it. But there, anyhow, just so you know what we're there. So anyhow, I did say that so now what I want you to do is we'll start off in chem. Don't do physics for now, but we'll try entering the VLOOKUP manually one more time, because if you've never used it before, this is your third crack at it. So you're not going to get it the first 2 times, like get it ingrained. So we'll try it one more time on our own. This one, remember, we probably will want to have it there, like be an absolute reference. I know in some formulas where I've used VLOOKUPs, it's the key I want it to be relative. This is not one of those times. So there, the table array is this. You don't have, just to keep it simple with the other ones, we're gonna, instead of doing it like here and dragging like this, we'll just go B to E. And you can press F4 to make sure they're absolute. Column number, we're doing chemistry this time. So that's column number 4, and then false. There you go. So now for physics, let's do it the quick way of copying it. Let's copy what we had here and copy it to the left, and it's not quite what we wanted to have happen. Okay, so, sorry, well, it is what we want to have happen. But the one thing we need to change is this cell here. We need to change what we're looking for to number 3. So it's pulling in physics and not the chemistry course for. I've also broken down the 2 different methods for how you can do it in here. So you should see that, like, if you need to follow it through and try it yourself, you can do that in there. This is about 20 minutes long right now. So if you need to drop off, please, by all means, feel free to do so. Thank you for putting up with the technological hiccups. However, since there is no time limit on YouTube videos, I am going to show you what I wanted to show you for the final for the final VLOOKUP. So, which is none of the other limitations. You can only look up one you can only have one key. You can't sort of be like, make the key, oh, I want to look up the A and B. No, you can only, it will only ever do one column. So what you tend to do if you have something where you combining these 2 items together creates a unique key, like a person's name, what you'll want to do is you will want to create a unique helper column and where you combine these 2. So you can see it changes from, you insert a new column and you put equals A and B, and voila, there you go. Now, when you're looking for things, you can look for A and B. So the next one is problem is duplicate entries. We will show you how the helper column works. In fact, let's take a moment to go into Excel assignment number 3. So we have something here. So what I will want you guys to do is, like we did there, click on cell E, insert. This will be our helper 1 column. So just like we did here, this equals A, and what I'm going to do a little You know what? Yeah. Yeah, A and D. So John Smith, and then just tap, tap, and you have the entire thing there. Now, when you're looking, you can look up for John Smith, and we have an error. Why? Well, the error is because remember what I said about how it will only look up, like you can't do multiple, sorry, you can, it only looks in the leftmost column when it starts going for its function. So you can see here, it's correct that we want the fourth column pulled here, but it's trying to look for John Smith in column 1, and it doesn't exist there. So what we have to do is we have to update our starting column from C. And so just to, this is E. So E. Now the leftmost column is John Smith. And this should work, which it does. Good for us. However, we'll copy it over to this, to the next two, and update cell L3 to 5. Cell L3 to 3. I realize I made a mistake. This should be 2, because this should be 3, and this should be 4. And voila, we're done. But we also, eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed something as well. We have 2 John Smiths, and this isn't a duplicate entry. There are just 2 people in this data set who have the same name. And the problem with that is that VLOOKUP will stop the moment it sees a duplicate entry. So like in this case, the moment it hits John Smith, it's going to, stop looking any further down. And this can change. So like, for example, if you type in here, that's why, because the filter isn't being applied on the first one, which it should have. That's on me. So you can see here, if you sort Z, like if you do it the opposite, if you do it, let's say, one of the perks of VLOOKUP is it's pretty robust. So even if you change the data in here, it won't make a difference, but it will make a difference if you do it and you have duplicate entries, because once it hits the first one, it's going to stop looking for the others. Anyhow, how do we get around this? As you can see through my thing, you can, this is where that slide on COUNTIF and the running COUNTIF can come in handy. So if you just do a normal COUNTIF one here, I'm going to put it in here, just trust me on this one. If you just do a normal COUNTIF, and you say, I want you to look in column E and tell me if you find anything that if this cell appears more than once. And it will show, 2 John Smiths. So but this is where I like to use the rolling COUNTIF. E3 absolute, E3 F4 to make it an absolute value, E3 relative, comma, E3. Then when you go down here, you can see the first John Smith is a 1, the second John Smith is 2. And what I like to do is at this point, I like to copy it and then right click and paste as values. What this will do is it will get rid of the formula, and now these numbers are etched in stone, so to speak. Because if you don't, and then you try and filter and sort by different things, these two will change. You see orange is now 1, and now orange is now 2. So it will shift. I mean, each, I guess, so I like to do it this way just so you have, and this is especially useful if you're doing things in a chronological order, like you're talking about journal entries from smallest to largest. So just because, so I like to then right click and save them as values rather than formula. And the reason I like to do that is because of what we're going to do next, which is the concatenate function. So so you can see here we have, like, if we just do so you can create another helper column. In this case, I put it at the far left, but you can now combine the key we had before with the count number from the countif, and you've got a unique value. There only ever will be, in this case, one Mark 1, only one Mark 2. Because that's the beauty of count if. You won't get duplicate entries if you do it this way. So then in our Excel, I want you to go into column G, click on the full name, and then concatenate there. So you can see here, the full name is this, and you'll have no duplicates here. Just to confirm, don't do this yourselves, equals count if here. Just to verify that they're all going to be 1. They're all going to be unique. There is, every single one of them is unique 1 of 1. They're all unique, which is useful because we don't want to pull in green John Smith's data when we want orange John Smith's data. So in this case, if you type in John Smith, you'll see that the numbers here are all wonky. That's because we've added in a bunch of columns. When you add in a bunch of columns, that could lead to problems, especially when we're doing with references. So let's take a look at what we have and see what the problem is. We still are pulling from the right place for VLOOKUP value here, but you can see our formulas, it's again, we've added cells to the left, so we have to update the starting point of it. So we are going to go with cell. It's now in G. I can't really see it because it's on top there, but G. And again, just to make my life easier, we're going to go with G to J. We're going to just do the columns. Remember though to make them absolute, because otherwise when we drag across, it's not going to pick up that. It will, if we just leave it as, let's say, G comma J, it's not, we're going to, and we, yeah, it's, we drag it across, it's gonna pick up, it's not gonna work. It'll pick up the, it'll update the, it will update the cell references and shift them along. As we drag along to the left or to the right, it will shift the table along to the right, which we do not want. So you can see here, we still get an NA. John Smith 1. Also, what you can do is you can, if you wanted to do something like students, you can do something where you go like, yeah, Yeah, maybe I shouldn't try and freelance at the last second when, yeah, ignore that one. So yeah, you can see here we had John Smith 1. If we wanted the orange John Smith, we could go John Smith 2. Now that we've updated our cells there, we can go, I like to drag it across and get all the formula in there. Another way of doing it is you just copy the formula, click on the cell, paste the formula in, and take care of that as a 3. That's the main thing. Once you start getting comfortable with VLOOKUPs, the main thing you'll be doing when you copy and paste them over is just updating the columns numbers. And anyhow, so that's how you can get around having duplicate entries. Alternatively, I know I use the rolling countif here. You might also be able to use a different data set item. So for example, if you had let's say the grade the student was in, you could use, and you could use that, or if they had a date of birth, you could have something where you use that as your key. There are different things you can use to allow yourself some flexibility. Down here, you'll see like I created a VLOOKUP here, which like this is how the NAs work. Anyhow, we're already way over time, so I will leave the class now. Feel free to message me if you have any questions. I know this wasn't as smooth as it could have been, but yeah, I appreciate you sticking with it, trying out the stuff, and hopefully if you learned something, it made it, and you were able to follow along with the assignments. But if not, then send me a message, let me know what confused you, and I would be more than happy to teach it to you, like one-on-one, just because, I mean, if you didn't come away with something from this class, then I didn't do my job, and I would like you to be comfortable with VLOOKUPs in Excel. So that's all the time we have today. I'm going to try and upload this to YouTube before the class starts. Hopefully none of you all need it, but we shall see. Best of luck and have a great day.